Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another review for you. That's gonna be Butchers by Todd Sullivan. Todd reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in reading his book. I read what it was about and I was hooked. I was like, sure, I'll read that, definitely. Lately I've been reading a lot of horror and I think that's due to the fact that I follow a lot of people on Twitter in the horror community and I love it. When I discovered what this book was about, I was so in. I love vampire stories, and not only is this a vampire story, but it is a horror novella. It's basically about this huge vampire organization who captures humans and tortures them as they are turning them into one of their own so that they can basically do their bidding and turn them into vampire slaves for this organization. So they are set up in apartments, they're tasked to do all of these extraordinary things, hence the name Butchers. These vampires are so cool. They can climb up buildings, they can perch themselves on ceilings, they can do things in a blink of an eye, and I just love the vampire world. So, without further ado, let's get into this book with some book facts. So there are 83 pages in this book. It was published in 2019 from Nightmare Press out of Louisville, Kentucky, and it is described as an extreme horror novella. My initial reaction post reading this book was like, how did Todd cram so much of a story into 83 pages? This story is so action-packed, fun-filled, gruesome, terrifying, and quite humorous, if I may add. If you've ever seen anime, that's how I envisioned this story in my mind. It was like this gigantic, epic anime fight, and I love that. I envisioned the characters that way, I envisioned the action that way, and the setting, and it just really brought a unique element to my book reading experience, and for that I'm very grateful that I read this book. So diving deeper into the plot, we have a secret society called the Huayu, and I know I'm going to mispronounce these, but I really wanted to give my best effort to pronounce it in the correct way. It looks like Guanlio when you're reading it, and that's how I read it throughout the book, but for the purposes of this video, I do want to try and give my best effort into pronouncing the names of the organization and also the names of some of the key characters that I'll be discussing in the video. So we've got this secret society of vampires, right? Part of the Huayu. They basically select and capture their humans and bring them to this secret facility where they torture them to the point of stripping away every bit of humanity that they have in order to transform them into the powerhouse killing machines that they want, and basically creating these slave assassins. So we have a male vampire that opens up the story. He's sitting in his apartment with what we soon come to discover as his blood relative. And this vampire is like several hundred years old, but he's found his bloodline and he's wanting to connect with this other person before he feeds off of her. In my mind, I pronounced his name Shaelu, but the correct pronunciation is, I'm totally gonna butcher this, but Toru. Toru. The girl that's in the apartment with him, her name is Seimi, which is correctly pronounced Seimi. Toru is basically employed by this organization of vampires, and they've noticed he's been taking quite too long to kill this girl. So they send two butchers to his apartment, and it seems like they're trying to kill him. So we have this big epic battle that ensues on top of rooftops, and the girl, Seimi, is actually captured and taken to said secret facility where they will torture her and turn her into a vampire. Totaru escapes. He vows that he will go and set free Seimi. He enlists the help of his friend Hievi. So Totaru and Hievi go and they make this plan to where they have a chance at taking on this organization and recapturing his love interest. I gave this one 4 stars. It was so fun to read, especially because I envision the characters, the setting, the movement with the action, all in anime format. So it was just really intriguing to read a book and be thinking that the entire time. The ending was kind of abrupt. I wanted to know more. I wanted it to end a little bit differently, but it's still a very, very good read. I wanted more, and I felt as though the ending was too abrupt for me. I wanted a different ending, or I wanted it to drag out just a little bit further to see where the story would end up. If you do decide to read this book, please read the ebook version. This book was a little bit difficult for me to read because the margins were too small. The margins were extremely non-existent. I had to like bend the page in order to be able to read the end of each line and the beginning of each line on each page. So other than that, I don't have anything negative to say about Butchers. Todd, you did an excellent job with this book. Before we close this video, I do want to shed some light on this author. Todd just seems really cool. So it says that he teaches English as a second language and English literature and writing in Asia. He has had numerous short stories, novelettes, and novellas published across several countries, including Thailand, the UK, Australia, the US, and Canada. He is a practitioner of the sword fighting martial arts, Kendo, sorry if I mispronounced that, Todd, and has training in fencing or foil, Muay Thai, Capoeira, Wing Chun, and JKD. I know I completely butchered all those. Again, I apologize. He graduated from Queens College with a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing and received a Bachelor of Arts in English from Georgia State University. He attended Breadloaf Writers Conference and the National Book Foundation Summer Writing Camps. Todd is currently working on a series of horror and fantasy novellas that take place in South Korea. So yeah, if you guys want to check this out, I will link Todd's Twitter down below. Really enjoyed this one. That is the end of this review, and I hope you guys enjoyed.